Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Jayam Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Paravajakacharya, Arcita Sri Srimad, ISKCON BBT Founder, Acharya Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Prabhupada Om Vishnu Pad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sakohosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita, Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Brajamuma Madam Ki Jai, Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Mahani Ki Jai. The most beautiful Lordship Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauritai Ki Jai, Samabeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Going Back to Home, Back to Godhead Ki Jai, ISKCON New York Yatra Ki Jai, Brihad Badaga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Turn on the TV, please. We're connected by HDMI, but the TV is off. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our bare means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatittama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, please get the verse on the screen. You have to select the right source. Okay. So we're continuing our reading from the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 9, and today's text is number 6. Yeah, what happened? We have to get this together. This should be ready before the speaker sits down. Dhruva Vacha, and we will use the Brahma Samhita meter for this verse. Yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasuptam sanjivayatya kila shakti darak sadhamna anyang sahastra charana shavanatvagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasuptam sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna Anyang sahastra charana shavanatvagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasuptam Sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna Anyang sahastra charana shavanatvagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Please chant. Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasupta sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna anyang sahastra charana shavana swagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasupta sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna Anyang sahastra charana shavanatvagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacha mimang prasupta Sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna Anyang sahastra charana shavanatvagadin Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacham imang prasuptam sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna anyang sahasta charana shavanatvagadin prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam dhruva vacha yontak pravishya mama vacham evang prasuptam sanjivayatya kila shakti dharak sadhamna anyang sahasra charana shavanatvagadin prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Very good. Synonyms: Dhruva uvacha. Dhruva Maharaj said, Yaha, the Supreme Lord who, Antaha, within, Pravishya, entering, Mama, my, Vacham, words, Imam, all these, Prasuptam, which are all inactive or dead, Sanjivayati, rejuvenates, Akhila, universal, Shakti, energy, Dharaha, possessing, Sadhamna, by his internal potency, Anyancha, other limbs also, Hasta, like hands, Charana, legs, Shravana, ears, Twak, skin, Adin, and so on, Pranan, life force, Namaha, let me offer my obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushaya, the Supreme Person, Tubhyam, unto you. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Dhruva Maharaj said, My dear Lord, you are all-powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please repeat. Dhruva Maharaj said, My dear Lord, you are all-powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses. My hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Dhruva Maharaj could understand very easily the difference between his condition before and after attaining spiritual realization and seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He could understand that his life force and activities had been sleeping. Unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his bodily limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. Unless one is spiritually situated, all his activities are taken as a dead man's activities or ghostly activities. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed a song in which he addresses himself. O living entity, get up. How long shall you sleep on the lap of Maya? Now you have the opportunity of possessing a human form of body. Now try to get up and realize yourself. So that's the Jeev Jagal that we chant occasionally at greeting. The Vedas also declare, get up, you have the opportunity, the boon of the human form of life. Now realize yourself. So that one is from the Katha Upanishad. These are the Vedic injunctions. Dhruva Maharaj actually experienced that upon enlightenment of his senses on the spiritual platform, he could understand the essence of Vedic instruction, that the Supreme Godhead is the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Dhruva Maharaj could immediately understand this fact. He was aware that for a very long time he was practically sleeping, and he felt the impetus to glorify the Lord according to the Vedic conclusion. A mundane person cannot offer any prayer or glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he has no realization of the Vedic conclusion. Therefore, when Dhruva Maharaj found this difference within himself, he could immediately understand that it was because of the causeless mercy of the Lord. He offered obeisances to the Lord with great respect and reverence, completely understanding that the Lord's favor was upon him. This spiritual enlivenment of Dhruva Maharaj's senses and mind was due to the action of the internal potency of the Lord. In this verse, therefore, the word swadhamna means, quote, by spiritual energy. Spiritual enlightenment is possible by the mercy of the spiritual energy of the Lord. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is first addressed to the spiritual energy of the Lord, Hare. This spiritual energy acts when a living entity fully surrenders and accepts its position as an eternal servitor. When a person places himself at the disposal or order of the Supreme Lord, that is called Sevanmukha. At that time, the spiritual energy gradually reveals the Lord to him. Without revelation by the spiritual energy, one is unable to offer prayers glorifying the Lord. Any amount of philosophical speculation or poetic expression by mundane persons is still considered to be the action and reaction of the material energy. When one is actually enlivened by the spiritual energy, all his senses become purified and he engages only in the service of the Lord. At that time, his hands, legs, ears, tongue, mind, genitals, everything engage in the service of the Lord. Such an enlightened devotee no longer has any material activities, nor has he any interest in being materially engaged. This process of purifying the senses and engaging them in the service of the Lord is known as bhakti, or devotional service. In the beginning, the senses are engaged by the direction of the spiritual master and Shastra, and after realization, when the same senses are purified, the engagement continues. The difference is that in the beginning the senses are engaged in a mechanical way, but after realization they are engaged in spiritual understanding. We can turn it off. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshtarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnang Shapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyahang Sri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancho Kalpatarubhya Shah Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll read the verse again so we know what we're concentrating on today. Dhruva uvacha yontak pravishya mama vacha imang prasuptam sanjeevayatcha kila shakti daraksadhamna anyang sahasya charana shavanatvagadin prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. And Prabhupada's translation. Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses. My hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you." So we see from all the prayers in the Bhagavatam offered by great souls, they all begin by offering obeisances to the Lord. So this mood of offering obeisances to the Lord should be prominent and prevalent in our consciousness because the Lord is worthy of our obeisances. As I've said many times, people ask me, what is the meaning of your name, Arcita? So it comes from this root archana, to worship. And I concluded very soon after receiving the name from Prabhupada that he wanted to remind me that Krishna is the prime personality to be worshipped, because in our conditioned state we naturally have a tendency to worship great, so-called great personalities, rock stars, movie stars, sports stars, so many so-called stars, but they're all just shooting stars. Just for a moment they seem to be brilliant and then they disappear. In any field, it's just natural in the material world that things do not stay. That is the nature of this world. Maya means that which is not. It appears to be, but it's not. It appears to be attractive, but if you examine it closely, it's not. As I've said many times, I was already a photographer when I joined the movement in '73. I just finished my third year of college, but I had a camera system and I used to make a little money taking pictures, portraits, weddings, events like that. So as a photographer, especially nowadays in the digital age, you can really zoom in on any photograph. And you can see that this so-called handsome guy or the so-called beautiful woman, when you zoom in, you see all the imperfections. And therefore, retouching is a very important part of photography, to remove as many of those anomalies as possible, so that when you give the photo to the person, either digitally or as a print, they look and they think, oh, I look so beautiful, I look so handsome. Yeah, that's because the photographer retouched so many of the imperfections. Nowadays they can even, anyways, the point is that material energy is always presenting things that appear to be attractive but are not actually. But Krishna is always attractive. So here Dhruva Maharaj is saying, after entering within me. Someone may ask, you mean the Lord was not there? Because our understanding is the Lord is always there. Just like every morning we're singing in the string of prayers. But here Nrsingo, Hridaye Nrsingo. He's outside and he's also inside, especially in my heart. So if the Lord is already there, where's the question of entering into? And that's because the Lord makes His presence perceivable or not, depending on our consciousness and His desire. We may perceive the Lord or not. Like everybody hears the voice within, but they don't realize it's a supersoul. There was a famous case here in New York, mass murderer, specifically targeted couples. After dark, he would go to different parks. Anyway, when they finally caught him, he said that the voice within was telling me to do this. And sometimes they say this voice within is God. Yeah, it's actually God. Then somebody may say, well, why is God telling this guy to kill? Because that's what this soul at that particular point of their material sojourn wanted to hear. And we see it goes on every day. As I've said many times, people wake up and their thought of the day is, how many people can I kill today? Either directly like this guy was doing, son of Sam was his name, Son of Sam was doing it himself. He heard a voice inside telling him to kill, especially these couples involved in romantic exchange. So he went and he killed. But others, they induce others to kill. They're so-called leaders of some country, and they wake up in the day and they're inducing others to go out and kill the neighbors, kill as many as possible. So it's not surprising, because that's the mentality, one of the mentalities that the living entity in the material world develops. Practically, this entire material universe is a killing field. At every moment, someone is killing somebody else. Not only in the human form, but in every form. And therefore, we have that verse, ahastani chahasanam, aparani chatuspadam, palgunit tatra mahatam, jivo jivasya jivanam. That ahastani, those who have no hands, chahastanam, they become food for those that have hands. Like you see, even monkeys, they go down sometimes, they're supposedly vegetarian, but sometimes they go down to the river or even the ocean, like in Japan, famous macaques, and they take shellfish because they have hands, they can grab them, open it up, and they eat. Ahastani chahas, apparani chatuspadam. Those who have no legs become food for the four-legged. A lot of carnivores, predators, they have four legs, like tigers, dogs, cats. And so they prey on those who have no legs, or even sometimes those who have legs. Like I noted, even before coming to Krishna consciousness, that cats, and it's a phenomenon that everybody knows now, house cats kill more animals, birds especially, than any other so-called predators out there, the wild predators. These are domesticated predators, but so how is it? Because we know birds are so conscious, they're so fast. If you put out some rice or grain on the floor, the birds will come, but every fraction of a second they're looking that way, because they know somebody can come and grab me. So how is it that cats? Because cats have higher consciousness. This is how the soul is elevated from one body to another with higher consciousness. It's not that the body turns into another body like the foolish Darwinists postulate, but the evolution of different body types gives you higher consciousness by which you can impose your will on those with lower consciousness. So birds are very conscious, but cats are more conscious. And it really dawned on me when one time I was visiting compound of my ex-wife's parents, my in-laws, and they had a bird feeder in the yard, on the lawn. So the birds would come in, but the house cat was so smart, he would hide in such a way and stay motionless that they didn't even realize it was there. And in a split second, he would grab the bird. So ahasani chahasan aparani palgoni tatar mahatam jivo jivasya. But the overall or overarching rule is that one living entity becomes food for another. But when we come to the human platform, we kill not just to eat, but out of envy, for sport. So this is misuse of higher consciousness. Like, the example I like to use is when the British went to India, there were so many tigers in India, there was practically a tiger every square meter. But nowadays, there are only a few thousand left. How is that? Because the tiger is so powerful, they can easily overcome a human being in an average human being in a one-on-one confrontation. There was one famous tigress on the border of Nepal and India. She killed more than 400 humans before they caught her. Such a powerful and so clever, because they really were looking for her, trying to find. But she was so clever, she would hide and come out when least expected and went on a killing spree. Because human beings are such easy food. Normally they're not interested. They like deer, they like wild boar, like that. But when they're injured or old age, or in this case she was missing one canine, she turned to human beings because they're such easy prey. So how is it not now, from so many hundreds of thousands, they reduce to just a few thousand? Because human beings have higher intelligence. They may not be able to fight the tiger one-on-one, but they can invent weapons and traps and so many things, what to speak of destroying their habitat. So in this way, Higher intelligence prevails on the material platform. And therefore you have the statement, Bodhirasya balam tasya nirbuddhis nakuto balam. That one who has intelligence has strength. One who has no intelligence has no strength. And what is the example of that? That one day in the jungle there was a buzz that a rabbit had killed a lion. What? How is that possible? Everybody's scratching. How is it possible? How can a shashi, a rabbit, kill a lion? So the answer was that in this particular forest, the animals approached the lion, who was the boss of that particular forest, and said, look, we can't have any peace because every day you come out and chase us and grab one of us and kill. Why don't you just sleep, and then one of us will come to be your lunch every day. So the lion figured, why not? You know, lions, they sleep anyway, 22 hours a day, and just 2 hours a day they're hunting. So he was happy, all right, I just sleep a little extra, and every day one prey animal will come and they will have. So the turn came of this rabbit to be the prey animal for lunch, the lion's lunch. So he didn't want to die, so he devised a plan. So the lion is waiting. Hour goes by, 2 hours go by. Finally, after 3 hours, he's roaring, where is this rabbit? The rabbit comes running. The lion said, why are you late? You're supposed to be at lunch. He said, hold on, I'll explain everything. While I was on my way to be your lunch, this other lion started chasing me. And I told him, no, you can't have me. I belong to this lion over here. But he just kept chasing me, and that's why I'm late, and that's why I'm out of breath. So the lion, they're very territorial. What? Another lion in my territory? Show me this rascal. So he said, okay, follow me, I'll show you where he is. And so the lion followed the rabbit. The rabbit took him to a well and said, he's in there. So the lion peered in, he saw his reflection, he roared, the roar came back louder. So he jumped in and he died. So, Bodhirasya balam tasya nirbuddhis nakuto balam. One who has intelligence has strength. One who has no intelligence has no strength. So Dhruva Maharaj had enough intelligence to follow the instructions of his Guru Maharaj, Narad Muni. And therefore he attained the goal. A goal even higher than the one he set out for, because he had material desires. He wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather's. But Narad Muni, understanding that he was at least determined, he gave him a sadhana by which he could attain a higher goal. And that is darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here he's saying, now that I've seen you, my dear Lord, you're all-powerful. It goes without saying. There can be no competitor to God. As Prabhupada would say, even in your English dictionary, God means the Supreme Being. So whenever I meet atheists who claim they don't believe in God, I ask them, okay, the definition of God is the Supreme Being. So do you not accept supremacy? We have examples of that every day. Positive, comparative, superlative. Strong, stronger, strongest. Anything, intelligent, more intelligent, most intelligent. Everywhere you look, there is supremacy. Not everybody's on the same level. So when you find that person who's supreme in every aspect, the most beautiful, the strongest, the smartest, that's God. They can't believe it. So what is it you don't believe? Okay, you don't accept supremacy? Being. You don't accept, you're a being, I'm a being, everybody here is a being. Don't you accept the existence of beinghood? No, they can't deny that. I'm a being, you're a being, and even the cats and dogs have personality. Why should there not be a supreme person? So Dhruva understands that. You are the Lord because you are the most powerful. And after entering within me, as we discussed, it's not a question of entering. God is always there. But He sometimes makes Himself known, His presence known, and others not. By what we deserve, as Prabhupada would always say, first deserve, then desire. So many people want to see God. Show me God. Can you show me God? You believe in God? Show me your God. No, God is not so cheap. Just like you can't demand to see a very important person of this world. Prabhupada would say, you have to make an appointment with a secretary, and then maybe He will see you. So if an ordinary person can have that ability to keep you at bay, if they don't want to see you, then what to speak of the Supreme Person? It's not going to appear just by your demand. But that doesn't mean he's not there. And Krishna can make his presence known or not known, even amongst devotees. Prime example is from the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, where when the Rajasuya sacrifice was to be performed, Yudhishthira had to establish his supremacy over all subordinate kings. So he sent his 4 brothers out in all 4 directions to conquer it. So Bhimasen went to the south and eventually came to Bengal, where there was a devotee king. Actually, all kings, all administrators should be devotees. But that's not always the case. That's why the Battle of Kurukshetra took place. But anyway, this Samudra Sen, he was the king of that area, Gauda Desh. And so when Bhima came in, the system was either you submit to the emperor through his emissary, or there's a fight. So Samudra Sen decided, I don't want to submit. So they fought. And he was such a valiant warrior. We know Bhima Sen is very strong and skilled warrior, but this Samudra Sen was actually better. He was gradually getting the better of Bhima, but Krishna didn't want that. He wanted the Rajasuya sacrifice to take place. So, all of a sudden, while in the heat of battle, Bhima Sen, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur relating this, not my speculation. All of a sudden, he saw that Samudra Sen got up his chariot and bowed down. So he thought, okay, fight is over. He's submitting. But what happened was, Krishna appeared in front of Samudra Sen, but not to Bhima Sen. Even though they're both devotees, he made himself visible to Samudra Sen, but not to Bhima. So Samudra said, what do you do as a devotee? You see the Lord, you bow down. So as soon as he saw Krishna, he got off the chariot and bowed down. So Bhima Sen said, okay, fight is over. So the point is, the Lord, although he's everywhere, Antarbahira Vashitam, as Queen Kunti says, Namasye Purusham Tvaryam Isharam Prakataparam Alaksha Sarvabhutanam Antarbahira Vashitam. Krishna is inside and he's outside, always. So where's there a question again of him entering into Dhruva? He's already there, but he's making his presence known internally when he was meditating, and now externally when he wanted Dhruva to open his eyes. So then Dhruva says, you've enlivened all my sleeping senses. So we may say, well, what do you mean sleeping? I'm using my eyes, I'm using my hands, I'm using my legs to go here and there, I'm using my ears, I hear so much, especially the honking outside. I don't know why. I grew up 15 minutes away from here, and this used to be a 2-lane street with parking on either side. Now they've reduced it to 1 lane. So if somebody stops for a moment, immediately the honking starts. It's such a distraction. But what can be done? They think they've improved the situation. And this is true for just about anything materially. They always think they're improving. That's their intention. To improve the traffic flow, to improve the wealth of the country, to improve their own prestige. But eventually we know just the opposite happens. Whatever they try by their material endeavor, everything just falls apart. So, yes, we're using our senses, so in that sense they're not sleeping, but because we're not using them for the right purpose for which they've been given to us, then we're considered to be sleeping. Therefore that verse from the Katha Upanishad, Uttisha Jagrata, you wake up, wake up. We even say to the Lord, wake up. Uttishta Uttishta Govinda Uttishta Garadak. So we even say to the Lord, wake up. And of course the Lord is never really sleeping, he's in Yoga Nidra. But in our case, we are sleeping. The material energy is actually moving those senses. We think that we're moving. I'm moving my arms, I'm moving my legs, I'm going here and there, doing this and that, but it's actually going on. Therefore Prabhupada recited 327 so many times. Prakite kriyamanani, gunai karmani, sarvas. Ahankara vimodalma. So, what is the last line? Kartaha mitivanyate. Yes, that the living entity, bewildered by the three modes of material nature, which are goodness, passion, and ignorance, thinks himself or herself to be the doer of activities that are actually being carried out by the material energy. And Prabhupada used the example, like your hands. We think, because when I want something, I want this HDMI cable, I pick it up, I put it in. It's actually being done by the material nature. And the proof is when the material energy on the Krishna's direction withdraws that power. And we've seen it happen. Maybe in your own family, or amongst your own circle, you've seen somebody who was very, very virile, very active, they have a stroke or something, and they lose the activities of one limb or more. It's not under your control. At any moment, that power to use the hands, to use the legs, can be withdrawn. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that there's a hierarchy. Indriyani Pranyahur Indriyani Parakmana. Manasastu Parakpuddhi Yobure Partastasa. That the working senses, the hands, the legs, they're superior to dull matter. An example I like to use is, because I'm usually sitting at a podium, is this was originally a tree that somebody cut down and then they turned it into wood and then somebody turned that wood into a podium. So the working senses are superior to dull matter. The dull matter is not organizing itself into a podium. First of all, there's a tree, which is living and keeps growing as long as it's alive. And then somebody comes along and decides, I want to turn this tree into lumber. So they cut it down and they make it into lumber. And then somebody buys that lumber and turns it into a podium or a table or whatever. So the working senses are superior to dull matter. Indriya Parakmana, but above the senses is the mind, because the mind is the central sense that makes the other senses work. And if the mind is not in good condition, in other words, if you're insane, when the mind is in good condition, we say somebody is sane. Here's a sane person. I can deal with them. But externally, somebody may seem to have, or not seem to, they have good working senses, strong arms, strong legs, all the working senses are there. But because the mind is not in good condition, they can't be trusted. You don't give an insane person a chainsaw to cut down trees for you, because they may use it to cut you. So we have to, in normal dealings, we want to make sure we're dealing with sane personalities. But they don't realize that what real sanity is. Real sanity is to be in this position that Dhruva is in, recognizing God when you see Him, understanding His position. Even though he was 5 years old and he said he didn't have experience, so the Lord touched with the conch. But there are so many so-called philosophers, they know any better. They don't know any better. They may be experienced, worldly experience, and have so much so-called knowledge, which is just regurgitating stuff that they've read that somebody else has written, or that they've heard that somebody else has said. No real thinking, just regurgitation. But they're not as intelligent as Dhruva. They're not just like Prabhupada would always get on the case of the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis, they know the scripture, a real Mayavadi, not these fake Mayavadis nowadays. They know, they can recite from this Veda, that Veda, this Upanishad, that Upanishad, but they have not come to this conclusion that the Lord is a person, as Prabhupada starts out. He realized right away, he's seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is a person. For many years, I was the director of academic outreach for the Los Angeles Temple, New Dorka. So a lot of presentations from elementary school up to college, university level. And we always start out by establishing this point. We ask, first of all, because we begin by giving them the mantra, Maha Mantra, explain it, and then we chant for a few minutes just to get the atmosphere surcharged with spiritual vibration. And then we ask the students, are you an atheist or do you believe in God? Even today, most of them say they believe in God. Just a few hands admit that they're atheists. So for those who say they believe in God, we ask them, what is your conception of God? And you'd be surprised, not surprised, I mean, you're all devotees, you know, and coming out of the Judeo-Christian tradition, or some of you from the Vedic culture, remnants of Vedic culture, a lot of people who say they believe in God have no clear conception. And they don't understand the very basic point that God is a person. I'm a person, my father was a person, his father a person. Where does personhood stop? The original source of everything obviously has to have personality. If it's the original source of everything and everyone, then how can the effluent, that which comes out of the source, have something that the source doesn't have? It's just logic. So if something that comes out of the original source has personality, then the original source has to also have personality. Otherwise you have developed something that the original source doesn't have, which is not possible. If everything and everyone comes out of one, because you can't have an infinite regression of cause and effect. That's another thing we established. There has to be an original cause of everything. It's just now a discussion of what is the nature of that original cause. Person, not person, spiritual, whatever. Now we can discuss the nature of that original source. So, if that which comes out of the original source has personality, then the source has to have personality. You can't have something that doesn't exist in the original source of everything. So in this way, Prabhupada would say, if you just study yourself, you get a good idea of the nature of the Supreme Self. In other words, we have desires, we have abilities, we have talents. So the original source must have all of these things. However, there's a difference of quantity. I may be able to become a city planner, design a city, but nobody can say they have a degree in planetary design. Anybody here studied how to design a planet? No. So we become puffed up. As Prabhupada said, you're proud of your little Sputnik that can circle the earth for a few times and has to come back. But God is floating so many immense Sputniks in space. Earth planet, which is one of the smaller planets. There's so many planets, like the Sun planet is so many times bigger, larger than the Earth planet, and so many other planets also. So, now Dhruva, being enlightened, he's explaining that now all of his limbs that were sleeping, not exactly sleeping because he was practicing yoga, he was using his limbs, but now they've been awakened on the spiritual platform. So we should look forward to that day of full awakening. It's not instant necessarily, it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. So as we take prasadam every day, we're spiritualizing our sense of taste. As we use our arms and legs in the Lord's service, they're becoming more spiritualized. Our eyes, vision is becoming spiritualized by taking darshan of the Lord every day. So gradually we wake up. Jeev jago, uttishta jagrata. We wake up to the spiritual reality. We wake up to our original position. So today is Vyas Guru Purnima. We are all supposed to be representatives of Vyasadeva. Very interesting personality. We don't have time to go into all the details. But if you look in the Vedic culture, anywhere you look, you see Vyasadeva. Everywhere he's there. This whole battle, the Mahabharata war, Battle of Kurukshetra, he's represented on both sides. How so? Because Bhishmadeva, as you know, he took a vow, Tridavrata, not to marry, not to produce offspring. But after half stepbrothers, you could say, passed away, Chitrangada was killed by a Gandharva of the same name, and Vichitravirya, he was ill, could not produce offspring. Bhishmadeva actually captured 3 sisters to be his wives, Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, but he was not able to. So after his demise due to disease, The mother, Satyavati, she asked Bhishmadev, the line has to go on. Come on, you have to break your vow and produce. No, he wouldn't do it. So then she remembered, because before she married, what's the father's name? Having a senior moment. Bhishmadev's father. Maharaj Shantanu. Before she married Shantanu, as you know, she had given birth to Vyasadeva. Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, that's the full name. Why Dvaipayana? Because that means island born. You know the story. Parasar Muni had approached her, and she was shy, unmarried girl. They were on an island in the Ganges, so he created this fog and promised her that, yes, you will give birth to a son, but your virginity will be restored. That was the deal. So anyway, he came to maturity immediately. Vyasadeva, not an ordinary personality, and promised his mother that I am going to go to the Himalayas, but whenever you want me, just think of me and I will come. So it doesn't mean she only thought of him once. No. She's always thinking, he's the firstborn son, she's always thinking of him, but special thought, like an SOS, I need you. And this is the power of personalities that are on the perfect plane. We know that same Vyasadeva later on empowered Sanjaya, even though he was sitting in the palace of Dhritarashtra, he could see what was going on the battlefield, thousands of miles away, or at least hundreds of miles away. Within the heart, Prabhupada said, this is spiritual television. You're proud of your Samsung TV nowadays, but it's not the same. This is spiritual television. We're within the heart. You can see what's going on somewhere else. Not just see, but hear. He could relate to Dhritarashtra every word that Krishna said to Arjuna. Every word that was, that's such a, how did he get that? Blessing of Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, through those three personalities, the first one, he gave birth to Dhritarashtra, but because the mother, Vyasadeva had been in forest situation, was not, matted dreadlocks and beard, and maybe not smelling like he just came from perfume bath. But anyway, the mother closed her eyes, and because of that, the son was born blind, Dhritarashtra. Then the second one, the mother, she kept her eyes open, but she blanched. When somebody blanches out of fright or fear and they lose blood, they go white. So she blanched. And so her son, Pandu, was born, we would say nowadays, without pigment. Because the mother blanched and he was so fair that he was practically white. So, then, of course, we know Dhritarashtra gave birth to 100 sons, but not exactly. His wife, Gandharva, she gave birth to a single lump. She was pounding on her, because her rival, so to speak, Kunti, had already given birth, and she was upset about this, so she pounded on her pregnant abdomen and aborted a lump. And then Vyasadeva came and gave the instruction, you cut that lump into 100 pieces, put it into 100 pots, and they will mature. My point is, Vyasadeva was involved in everything that goes, is presented in the Mahabharata. Vyasadeva was there. And not only did he was involved on both sides, giving birth to Pandu and the Pandavas, and then Dhritarashtra and the Kauravas on that side, who fought against each other, but all the Vedic knowledge is coming from him. And not only given directly, but he empowered his disciples to write down, because he knew that in this age, previously it was an oral tradition, but he knew in this age, Tatasthadunanam dharma satyam socham samadhya. Kalena balina rajan, nang shatyahar balang smriti. He knew that in this age, everything reduces, including the ability to remember things. So no more Shrutidhar, you hear once and remember for life. So he had his disciples write everything down. And then, on top of that, he produced Shukadeva Goswami. That was his direct son. And as you know, Shukadeva Goswami was such an exalted personality, he didn't want to come out of the womb. So Vyasadeva had to call Krishna and ask him to please convince his offspring to come out. Some say he stayed in the womb 12 years, some say 16 years, but anyway, he was in there for a long time. And Krishna came and told him, yes, you will be protected. Don't worry, you come on out. So my point is, Vyasadeva is such an exalted personality. When we sit here, we're supposed to be representing him on the Vyas Asan. And we should present only that which has come from Vyasadeva through the succession. No speculation, no I think, maybe, perhaps, nothing like that. Just whatever is there. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is his cream that he presented. You know that he was feeling despondent, not in the way that materialists feel despondent. They're trying to achieve something and they can't, and they become morose and depressed. Not like that. His despondency was that he wasn't feeling complete. Even though he had given the four Vedas and the Upanishads and the Puranas, not feeling complete. So his guru, Narad Muni, came and explained to him, now you give this Srimad Bhagavatam, which fully describes the activities of the Lord. And so we're fortunate to have it. And it's stated in the Bhagavatam itself, Anartopasamam sakshat bhakti yogam adoksati lokasya janata vidvam chakre satara sangitam, that the material miseries of all of us, the living entities that are in conditioned state, are superfluous, but we don't know that. So the great sage Vyasadeva has given us this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation with the Supreme Truth, Krishna. So Vyasadeva, we can say a lot more, but time is up already. Actually, we're over time. And it's also Sanatana Goswami's appearance or disappearance? Disappearance, okay. So Sanatana Goswami, we know, one of the celebrated 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, so much contribution. He was so exalted that Rupa Goswami, his younger brother, accepted him or saw him as his guru. Of course, Lord Chaitanya was guru of all of them, but he accepted or saw his elder brother as guru. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 24, which is entitled The 61 Explanations of the Atmarama Verse, so Lord Chaitanya is explaining to Sanatana Goswami, and then at the end, Sanatana Goswami says, you are God, you are the Supreme. Nobody else can give intellectual knowledge like this. So of course, Lord Chaitanya was not happy about that. He's Chana avatar. He didn't want to be outed, but his pure devotee disciples, they knew he was the Supreme Person. But even today, you could say he's still Chana, even though by the force of pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, they're broadcasting to everybody, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord. Still, in India where he appeared, practically he's still Chana. Because a lot of Indians, they know Radha Krishna, Sitaram, and Lakshmi Narayan, but they don't know Lord Chaitanya. They may have heard a little something about him, but they don't worship him as the Supreme. So still, he's Chana. So it's our responsibility to broadcast his glories, and that's what the 6 Goswamis did. They were empowered by Lord Chaitanya to spread his teachings, make them clear. Nana Shastra Vicharana Kinipano Sadharma Sangstapako Lokana Mitakarino Chidubhuvane Manyo Sharanyaku Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Bande Rupa Sanatana Rago Yago Sri Jiva Gopalako. So that's what they did. They scrutinizingly studied all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they're honored all over the 3 worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and engaged in the transcendent and loving service of Radha and Krishna, Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Like I said, we could go on and on, but we should stop here. At least sometime today you should read about Sanatana Goswami and read about Srila Vyasadeva. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.